I have the passion for it. I just want to see a future where period education is an essential part of a girl's education. It's not just something on the side. It's something being taught in schools like mathematics, physics, chemistry, where the girls are being taught about this, where it's also introduced to boys in a way that so that it can foster empathy and reduce period stigma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua Hoffman, joined by my co host Alex Gerashenko. And today I have Chika Nwaogu, the founder of Padher Initiative, a nonprofit that uses comic books and animation to make it free, fun, and easy for young African girls in underserved communities to learn about periods, puberty, and sexual health. Welcome, Chika.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
We know you got some travels after this. Hopefully we can get you out there in time. But before we kind of get into some of your work, I want to talk about some of the skills that you have because it was on your LinkedIn and a few other places that you mentioned that you're a computer programmer, an illustrator, and an animator. So those aren't typically three words you attach to nonprofits. So how did you get started in those fields?
Oh, okay. So basically, I never wanted to do what I'm doing right now. You see, this is basically purely by chance. It happened purely by chance. So normally, I would always want to be a software developer. I am a software developer, but with time, we find ourselves doing things that we never even thought about doing, even as a child. As a child, I would never think I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, and probably because as a child, I was never thinking about having a child. Right, a child is never thinking about having a child. So a child is just having that. Oh, I want to take over the world. I want to do this. I'm basically doing the same thing. So at the age of 13, I remember my mom got us our first PC, and everybody in the house was so eager to learn. Everybody want to be a computer wizard. I think as a kid we just wanted to be the best. The best thing. And so I remember my twin and I would always sneak out at night because we had an older brother who always wanted to curb our curiosity. He never liked us. He never really liked us on the computer systems. So whenever he knew we loved computers, so he always used it as a leverage when he wants us to do something. He says, "Okay, I know if you guys want to use the computer, go clean up your room, go do this, go do that," and we quickly run, we clean everything up so we just can use the computer. And sometimes we come back, he's like, "Hey, I just pranked you guys. You're not using the computer today." So we always did this thing at night where we sneak out of the bedroom and we go to the living room where the computer was, and we just put it on and we silently learn. So we'd always learn HTML because that was the first thing we said we wanted to do. We learned HTML, we learned CSS, we built our first website. And as kids too, as we're growing, we see comic books, and we want to know how is this done? How is this done? So we learn how to illustrate with our hands, and then
That's cool.
put it into the computer with Corel Draw, and we start painting, and gradually we're building our computer skills. I didn't know that this was going to help me in the future, but it was basically my learning ground, and we started learning 3D animations. With software like Maya, Posa, Cinema 4D, and the rest. And looking back at it, it's almost like God was actually preparing me. Sorry, I had to put that, but I felt like I was being prepared for what I'm going to be doing right now, even as a kid. So I kept. So it was so funny to see myself using everything I learned over the years as a kid, growing up to an adult. I'm using them in a non-profit setting to help young girls in Africa. It just feels like I was made for this. I guess that's the right word to say.
No, I love that. I'm not a parent yet, but I think there is such a value in getting when you're a kid or your kid getting as many skills as possible. One, you just don't know what their future is going to look like, and it's just good to. But a lot of times, success is found when you pull a skill from, and this is exactly what you did, right? You pull a skill from something else, whether it's another job, another industry, another project, and you pull it into what you're currently working on. and it's having those skills, whether you realize that at the time or not, that says, "Oh, like, I'm actually doing something a little bit different here, and these skills work really well in this field." So, I think it's really cool that kinda whether it's an accident or not, like, it led to that. Um, do you remember, like, was there, like, a first project or something that kinda captured your attention, rather than just, coding?
Oh, okay. I've had a lot of projects in my lifetime,
Yeah,
right?
but was there, like, a first one that you're like, "That one
Yeah.
just
So
I
there was a,
dove
there was
into?"
a the first computer game my twin and I created, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
called
yeah.
it was called Save the Admiral. If I'm saying it was basically a game we created for Yo-Yo Games. There's a company called Yo-Yo Games, and I think I'm trying to remember where they are from, but they wanted there was a competition they were putting out there for global warming, and they wanted everyone to come up to different game developers or game outfits to come up with their own with a game about global warming. So my twin and I, our response to that was Save the Admiral, right? At this, we are around 18 years old, and so you can imagine the first time we are making an outfit called Niger Boy because we call Nigerians Niger, so it was called Niger Boy Interactive, and it was it was our first attempt at entrepreneurship, and from there we kept moving, our creativity kept manifesting in different ways, like creating a social network back then for students of our university called Blackbook that grew to 1 million users before we sold it when we were barely 22, 23 years old. So and like that, we kept making more tech startups. So sometimes whenever I'm speaking to people about what I do, they're always wondering why menstrual and sexual health, because it's more like someone you've known all your life who has always been this type of a person creating similar startups. Like for example, my twin brother recently launched a, a coding education type of startup. This is typically something expected from someone like me, right? But then I'm speaking to people telling them, oh, I want to launch a menstrual and sexual health platform where girls can go and learn, like an e-learning platform. And they're just looking at me like, what changed? Right? I feel like what changed if I'm always to talk about it, because when I look at my twin, I realize that our life have become so different. He's not a father, he doesn't have a child yet, he's not even thinking about having a child yet. And not like it's a bad thing. But I feel like when you become a parent, something just changes. Something is not just the same as it used to be. And I feel that's what have got me to where I am right now.
Yeah, and I guess I wanna use that to segue into the nonprofit. You kinda were bouncing, what you have done and you and your brother into Patter. Um, and we're talking about, how you're using all these skills, and I wanna keep kinda going back to the programmer life and animator life because I know that's what you're doing now. So can you kinda tell us, a little bit more about Patter and what you guys are doing?
So, in a nutshell, basically, Para is just trying to reimagine the way menstrual and sexual health education is being taught. You see, in the past, it has always felt a little bit mechanical and clinical. It has always also felt a little bit boring. So it's a topic I felt like whenever it's being presented to young girls, they kind of shy away from it. Like there's like a stigma attached to it. So I feel like when you present something like that in a playful way, in a way that is more fun, it's something that becomes sticky and learning becomes sticky for them. So basically, Pada is making it fun, easy, and comfortable. Let's use that word, comfortable, for young African girls to learn about their bodies, or you can say to learn about menstrual and sexual health education, right? We also, like I say, because we are an organization that is fighting period poverty in Africa, we just don't give them education. We also give them period protection, because while we educate them about their bodies, we still have to equip them to manage their bodies. And that's basically what we're doing at Pada. We're always looking for innovative ways. We first started with comic books. We are scaled to animations. We're most recently, we are trying to scale into digital games and then to e-learning platforms. So it basically we're going to be always looking for more innovative ways and mediums to present menstrual and sexual health education to young African schoolgirls.
And you mentioned something like the animation and the books. How else do you equip them? I think I read something about the schoolgirl kit that you guys provide. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So it's called the pad hack kit, right? Basically, what's contained in the pad hack kit is we have 5 reusable pads, and then we have a wet bag. The wet bag is basically where they can actually store used parts in school. For example, if they are trying to change from one part to another in school, so they can always um, fold. Is a way it is easy to fold the used one and clip it, and then put it into the wet bag, and then that way it is stored discreetly into their school bags, and they can always take it back home for washing. Then we also give them a pair of underwear for those who don't have, and then we give them a period bracelet. So basically, the period bracelet it serves as also serves as a period tracking um device. Okay, let me try and explain how the period bracelet works. So we basically give them 40 white beads and 10 red beads. No, so how it goes is this. So on the first day, they have like a fishing
Line.
yeah, to make the bead. So they on the first day where they don't see their periods, they put in a white one, which means my periods. The second day they don't see their period, they put in another white one. They keep putting in the white one until their periods show up. Now on the day their period shows up, what goes in now is red. Now, if the period happens the second day, they put another red. So when the period now stops and they find out that, oh, I'm back to not having my periods, then they tie. Their bracelet has been made. Now you see, with this now they can always use that to track where they are in their periods, and so they can be ready with the pad in their school bag.
Hmm.
Basically, that's it.
I love
Hmm.
that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Can you talked a little bit about how you started when you became a father to a baby girl. Can you talk about the reason behind that and the problem that you're solving with Pat Her?
So okay, so I welcome my daughter. My daughter is 6. She just clocked 6 in November 6. So November 6th, 2019, I welcome my daughter Atara. And I remember I was in the gym. This was during February 2020, just when the pandemic hit our part of it. I don't know when it hit you guys, but this is when it hit it hit Nairobi. And so I think I was in the gym, and then I'm seeing a lot of messages, it's trending. Coronavirus is in Africa, it's in Nairobi, it's this. And then I remember the gym had to tell us to go early, to close early, and that they won't be opening the next day. And I think there was a curfew right after that. So I went back home, like, in mind, I'm thinking what's going on. Now, during the same time was a lot of TikTok. That was when the TikTok, the social network became a big deal back here. And so I'll be always on TikTok, and I was bored. I was bored. So I remember I was watching. I never watched the news, so I'm watching the news for the first time because I think I wanted to know how many people are dying. Everybody was following the news. I think at that point, if you're not following the news, you're just a different type of person. So I was following the news. I just wanted to know what was going on. And I think while the whole corona stuff was happening, a segment of the news came up where they were talking about young Kenyan girls from a place called Machakos County, and how majority of them are engaging in transactional sex for parts. So in my mind, I'm like, what's that? And I had to, do my own research with my phone, and it's basically more of, girls meeting men, giving them sex for money, monetary value. But in this case, not monetary value, for money to buy something as essential as just period supplies, parts. So I realized it was a big deal back then because they were talking about the increasing the high rate of new HIV infections, and that it was prevalent in those young girls, right? And I think it just struck a nerve. It struck a nerve. I wanted to know more. And then I think the part of me who wanted to be like maybe like a Superman to my daughter. I hope she sees me like that. But I wanted to. Went into a defensive mode, completely defensive mode. So I just wanted to know what's going on here. What's this? What's that? And then I realized I don't know anything about this thing. And I realized I also have a sister. I grew up with a sister. I grew up with cousins. I grew up with aunties. I have a mother. And something that affected half of the world's population, I was completely ignorant to it. So I felt like I was part of the problem. And naturally, I felt if I need to do something about this, I need to first educate myself. I need to get myself informed. So I had to go online. I'm looking for courses, and then I found one on Stanford, offered by Stanford, called International Women's Health and Human Rights. So I know when I quickly enrolled for the course, but it was a struggle initially, because I'm navigating a topic I know nothing about. It was so tough. I had to go through so many reading materials. Sometimes I would just doze up and I'm like, no, 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 no. You learn this, you have to, So while learning it, I realized I started developing interest into in these issues that affect women. And then I started seeing all the FGM and other issues like human trafficking and stuff. And then I'm wondering to myself, like, how can actually how can I solve this? It's not just all about knowing about these problems. How can I be a solution to these problems? And good thing is that part of the course while we're studying, it's part of the course is to actually create interventions for you pick an issue and then you create an intervention for it. So we had we put into groups. So we had there was a group of 5 people, and then we were to go out and come up with an idea and put it into practice. Go into the field. So I remember when we went to a school and we were like teaching. It was actually the young girl, the ladies teaching, and I'm watching. I'm just looking at the interaction between the teacher, the educators, and the young girls. I could see there was a friction. The ladies, they just didn't connect. They always form their own mini classes around where they are talking to themselves. They're not even listening to the teacher. They are bored. They are sleeping. They are yawning. They just didn't seem like they were interested. And then I also try to put myself in their shoes. I don't like this feels like science class. This is boring. So I felt like even if they feel like the intentions is right, which is they are going there to educate these young girls, the intention is right. Their heart is in the right place, but they're actually not connecting. They're not creating any real impact, if you ask me. So I said, oh, in what way can I make this thing more fun for these young girls? I think that was when it all came up with the comic book idea. And why the comic book idea stuck was because I felt with animations, these girls are from underserved communities. They don't have access to technology like that, like to smartphones, like anything to devices where they can watch animations on. Comic books, there was no, there, you don't really need access to technology, but at the same time, it's still fun and engaging. So I felt this is because of the digital divide, this is the right way to go. So I decided, okay, let's go with that. I remember I tried speaking to my team members about it, and one of my team member called Blessing. I will never forget what she said. She said, "Chika, there are people who have come before you who have the same idea and it never worked out." Then she encouraged me to continue down the same line. What they were doing, that these have been in place for the longest. We should continue doing it. And it just felt wrong to me because I'm a tech guy. We solve problems, right? You can tell a techie that this is how we have been doing it. If from my part of my world, we're always looking for the best way to do things. We're always redefining the wheel. So I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do it. So she gave me instances of people who wanted to change the world. Like she said there's a guy who wanted to use a comic book to teach mathematics to young girls or to young kids. And I said, what happened to him? He said, exactly. He gave up. Now, I love a good challenge. I love a good challenge. Once you tell me I can't do something, then I want to do it. And then at that point, it's no longer about doing it, it's about proving you wrong. I understand it was petty to think like that, but at the same time, that was just me. I just wanted to prove Blessing wrong. So I decided to, I pulled back from the team. I finished the course at Stanford, and I'm like, okay, it's time to do this. So I called a couple of ladies and asked them, "Do you want to create Padha with me?" And they're like, "Oh, fine, but we don't know anything about animations. We don't know anything about comic books." I said, "That's not the problem. Leave me, let me create the whole thing. Your job will be to review what I've created, make sure it is sensitive, make sure that I don't come across, because as a man writing this, I might be insensitive in some places. I might say things that I'm not supposed to say because hey, I'm not a lady. So your own is to make sure that this comic book does not come off the wrong way to a female reader." And they were like, "Awesome." So I did the first version. I sent to my friends. They corrected. I remember one of the corrections was I had made the Dr. Joy, who was teaching her younger sister about periods. So when the Amanda had told Dr. Joy about what she was going through, Dr. Joy laughed and said, "You're okay. You just got your first period." And then someone told me, "No, don't make her laugh. Laughing is part of the stigma. Laughing is basically like she's laughing at her. So rather, she should smile." Now, this is something only a lady will catch. A guy wouldn't get it. So you see, they kept giving me different ideas. I kept going back to do the revisions, and then I had a couple of friends who were doctors or medical practitioners. I sent it to them so that I made sure that whatever I've written there is medically accurate. And they gave me different Chika do this rather than saying 28 days, sometimes say between 25 to 40 days. They gave me different dates. They gave So I kept going back and forth, making sure that the comic book is medically accurate. And before, I think at the fourth revision, the comic book was ready. And that was the first time I just, okay, let's go ahead and print this. I went back to Blessing, who told me I could not do it. I said, I want to show you. I have something I would like to show you. She's like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm sending it to your inbox right now. Check it out." And I just love the way she changed everything. She was like, "Oh wow, this is beautiful. This is great. How long did it take you to make it?" And I said, "3 months." And she's like, "Awesome." So I just love the way she changed from "it's not possible" to "this is beautiful. This is awesome. I love this." And
Amazing.
the rest is history.
And that's a great story. Yeah, and we have a label for that kind of motivation on the podcast. We call that FU motivation. It gets you amped up and you want to prove somebody wrong. There's a lot of great cases of that. What are your goals for 2026 with this initiative, and what's needed for you to hit those goals?
Awesome. For me, I always tell people there are, there are two types of things I do at Padha. I do things that don't need money. I do things that need money. But I always focus on the things that don't need money because they're usually the place where you make the greatest how will I put progress. For example, next year I want to release the Boys 2 comic book. The Boys 2 comic book is the response to Girls Only comic book. It's actually the comic book designed for boys, where boys will be taught about periods and puberty in girls, and at the same time teaching them empathy, how to show empathy towards their female counterparts in school, in how to help their younger ones. Like for example, if you're an older brother, you can also help your younger sister when she first gets her periods. You can always say, "Oh, I learned this from Boys to comic books. You do this, you do that." So basically it's a thing of building that level of empathy within young boys, that what their female counterparts are facing is perfectly normal. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's not something to shame them for. It's not something to bully them for. It's something they should be part of the narrative, helping their female counterparts to navigate their periods and make them and reassure them that they are in a how will I put it, in good hands, in safe hands. Because I found out that sometimes there's these whole cases where a girl stains her clothes in school and the boys are laughing. They're like pointing at her, they're making fun of her, they're insulting her. And this is as a result of is this period stigma we are talking about. Is a result as a result of a society that does not um um build boys to show empathy towards their to their female counterparts. They are taught that periods are something to shy about, to be shy about, to be embarrassed about. So we are trying to make sure that we change that narrative one comic book at a time for boys. One other thing we are also trying to do is wherever we go to a school, we always want to have that ongoing learning, even after we're done with our workshops in that school. How can the girls also learn, keep learning, and keep the learning going? So we want to create an e-learning platform like Coursera, but dedicated to menstrual and sexual health for young girls, where young girls can go and start courses that are being taught in comic book formats, in animation formats, in interactive formats, and at the end of the day they earn certificates for every course they or every achievement that they get on the platform. Our courses are being accredited by Edu Evidence, so we feel like not only are we going to provide world-class education, but we are also going to be changing the way young girls will be actually getting the talk, because some parents are always shy about the talk. How do I introduce sexual health to my child? How do I introduce sex to my daughter for the first time? Do I talk about abstinence? Do I talk about condoms? Do I talk about these? It's kind of an uncomfortable topic sometimes for some parents. So we feel like Padha will be there to bridge that gap, where parents can actually um, go to our period academy and register, give an invite code to their daughters, and the daughters come to the website and they learn. And the parents can, from their own part of their dashboard, see how far their children are learning and what topics are they learning best, and are they and how fast are they completing some certain courses. So we feel like this is going to be helpful to both parents and to parents, schools, teachers, educators, and also girls.
I
Um,
Yeah, I think that's great, especially because, especially for single dads, or single moms talking to the whatever direction it goes to. Um, I think that's a really good resource for a single dad who has no idea how to do it. Maybe, fortunately, unfortunately, maybe they don't even want to do it, and at least their daughter has a resource to have. So I think that's great. Um, just kind of coming up to the end of the show, I think just one question left, and then I'll see if Alex has anything. But you mentioned that there are certain things only a woman could know, especially in this space, and you kind of needed that support. But on the other side, like, what is it like being a male in a female dominated space?
it's fun. It's fun because I listen more than I talk. So I remember when I'm in my past startups, or in every other positions I formed in the past. I was always a leader I was always at the forefront of making decisions, talking, let's do this, let's do that. So, imagine getting to a place where you know nothing. So you always have to, if you find out that leadership is not always about being on the front row, sometimes it's at the back watching, right? So working with a lot of ladies who this is something that affects them more than myself. I always want to listen. I want to know how best can I do this, and I feel like it has also changed my entire outlook on life. It has allowed me to be someone who listen more, who give people opportunities, like, to, okay, can I hear what you have to say? And this was never my style of leadership in the past. My style of leadership in the past was always like a top down planning. I just I have something, I just say that's what is going to happen. But with partner, it has taught me to listen to every person, no matter how little the person is in the group, in the team, their voice matters. I feel like, and I feel it has not only changed me as a person, but it has changed my leadership style. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Um, as part of that, and I guess moving forward, being a leader in this space, you've certainly dealt with a lot of different challenges. I tend to look on the operational side of things. That's where most of my interests lie. What have been most of the operational challenges that you've had getting this initiative going?
Operational is always it's always where people don't feel like your heart is in the right place. So let's imagine I think I told this story about us going to a school initially when we first started Padha, and we wanted to start our first workshop. Um and we had been turned around at the gate. Now I understand that the head teacher, on the she was trying to how will I put it, preserve the dignity of our girls. She didn't want her girls to be exploited. Me, on the other hand, I was trying to also help her girls on get education and period protection, and also help with their dignity when during their periods. We both were looking for the same thing, dignity. I wanted to help them get dignity. She was trying to preserve their dignity. We both wanted the same thing for the girls, but at the same time, it was kind of divergent. And I think that was the one of the formative parts of my leadership. It taught me to not always see something as someone as an attack on my personality, but rather understand where the person is coming from. So I understood when I saw the head teacher and her approach. I understood that she doesn't really hate me. She just wanted to make sure that her girls were not being exploited. So I had to go partner with trusted organizations who already have that good trust from the community, from the head teacher, and we came back and we were able to achieve the same thing we wanted to do, but this time with leveraging the power of partnerships. So I feel like one of the things, and it has also helped us in throughout and allowed us to expand rapidly. Even in recently in Ghana, we were able to achieve impact 1,750 girls in the central and bottom region of Ghana in just 3 months, and we are still going to impact another 1,750 girls in the Ahafwan Eastern region in another 3 months come January. And this is only possible with the power of partnerships. So I feel like also that was also something that was a turning point to our strategy on how we actually implement our workshops. If that never happened, probably I would never know how, like, oh, this is a way to go. You understand? I'll probably want to go and do it all by myself. Like, oh,
Mhm.
let's go to that school by ourselves, do it. But then I realized you have to partner with people to achieve the goal. And I think even the United Nations, one of their SDGs, partnership for the goals, and it just informs you how important partnership is for achieving whatever we want to achieve.
That's a great point. Um, with that in mind, what do the operations look like? Can you talk about your the processes and systems to create these kits? Can you tell us essentially how all of this comes together and what's it look like piece by piece for your process?
Okay, so we have the curriculum part, which is a part I had. We're the ones who come up with the storyline for every comic book, right? If this one is about first period, we develop the curriculum. Then from the curriculum we turn it into a storytelling, and then it goes down into into the illustration, and then also into animation. That's a part for the curriculum part, which is basically our educational aspect. Then we have the part that talks about period the pads, the period bracelets, the underwears. These are led by mostly women. I have my co-founder called Tema Ahamba. She's the director of partnerships and operations. She's the one who's in charge of this. So basically, she's the one who all goes to source the best type of are we going to use bamboos bamboo type of parts, or we're going to use this type of material. She's always the one who's making that decision, and always looking for the best way in which where we can cut costs and increase quality. Sometimes, like for example, when we're in Ghana, our operations, our where we manufacture parts is in Nairobi, Kenya, and then we realized we had to move to Ghana, and we had to achieve something like this in Ghana. Moving our parts, logistic wise, from Nairobi to Ghana was going to be very expensive and very cumbersome, not very big. So we in this type of cases, we partner with local organizations already doing part manufacturing in Ghana. For example, we partnered with Eco Period. They make reusable parts in Accra, Ghana, and in Kumasi, Ghana. So we just approach them. We let them know that, oh, we this is what we do, and we're not basically trying to sell your parts. We're trying to use it to empower young girls in Ghana, and we sign an MOU, for how long the parts will be provided to us.
As we come up to the end of the episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to mention how people can find you and anything else you'd like to end with.
Okay, sorry, I get okay. So
No worries.
you can find us on every part. You can find us at Padha.org. Like it's not like as if you're putting Padha.org, but just remove the dot. So it's Padha.org. The Padha.org thing, yeah. So that's our name on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook. That's just basically everything for us. Yeah.
Awesome. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Chika. This was great. This is something that we haven't really learned about. So it's just great to hear that you're working on this and kind of just learning all the things that you went through to get there. So thank you so much.
Thank you too, guys. I appreciate it.